Elite Facts presents
What would happen if the human race just disappeared? Have you ever wondered what would happen to the world if all us humans just disappeared? Whether it's complete and global extinction of the human race or something more religious like the rapture, it does bring to mind the question, what will happen to the planet that we've formed over the last recorded 6,000 years? Yes, we know we've actually been around for millions of years, but we're talking about recorded history here, so keep your hair on. Well, that's what we're here to discuss, so here are some of the things that would happen if one day we, the human race, were to just vanish from existence. 8. The world would go dark within a single day. Let's start with the obvious. The world would just simply go dark. Like, it wouldn't even take a day for this to happen. What we mean by go dark is that all of the world's power sources would just stop working, as there would be no one to help maintain the power plants across the globe. Now, even with all of these power plants essentially shutting down and possibly devolving into worldwide nuclear meltdown, depending on the situation, you may argue that it wouldn't matter, as solar panels are a fairly common source of energy these days. Well, they are, but those things also require maintenance. If the human race was to just simply disappear, solar panels would begin to stop functioning over time due to the ever-growing large deposits of dust. So yeah, the world would just go dark. I mean, sure, wind turbines would continue to work, but they're not nearly as common as nuclear or solar power. The only thing that would remain active for a few months would be hydroelectric power plants.
7.
Domesticated animals wouldn't stand a chance. Now, this one is an incredibly depressing one if you're a pet owner. Just about 10 days following the disappearance of the human race, house pets and farm animals would die, and there are a few good reasons for this. House pets are typically locked up in their owners' houses, and they would eventually starve to death due to the lack of food resources and their inability to scavenge outside of the walls of their owner's house. As for those domesticated animals who aren't locked indoors and are free to roam the earth, well, they wouldn't last long either. House pets and farm animals wouldn't stand a chance in a world that would be completely taken over by wild animals, wild dogs especially. Wild dogs would be the first to claim urban areas as their territory and would be near the top of the food chain.
6.
Nuclear meltdown. We briefly spoke about this at the start of this video. Within the first month of the human race disappearing, since there would be no one to monitor any of the nuclear reactors across the globe, these reactors would overheat, causing terrible explosions worldwide. It would be a complete and devastating chain reaction. All we'll say is, picture the disaster of Chernobyl, but on a global scale. We know, it's pretty terrifying to think about it. It would essentially be like living in the world of Fallout. As far as the surviving animals who may have made it past the 10-day mark without either being killed by other predators or dying of starvation, well, nuclear radiation would coat the world and those surviving animals would eventually drop off one by one.
5.
Satellites would fall. Yeah, you know those satellites up in space that orbit the Earth? Well, they don't operate on their own. If the human race was to just disappear one day, those things would run off of backup generators and AI systems for about a year. But after about a year, our orbital satellites would drop out of the sky and rain down on the Earth like meteor showers.
4.
Nature would conquer the concrete jungles. After a few decades without humans, plant life would begin to grow out of control and cross over into the deserted urban city environments. Over time, the world's oxygen levels would dramatically rise. Keep that in mind because we'll be coming back to it. Now, fast forward a mere 75 years and pretty much every major city in the world would have overgrown plants, trees, and fungus throughout. It would essentially look a lot like the movies I Am Legend or The Last of Us. The whole world would be overgrown with out-of-control plant life. Eventually, over time, these cities around the world would be taken over by large swamps as well. On top of all this, within just 5 years after the disappearance of humans, all of the roads, highways, and subways would be submerged and turned into rivers. And after 300 years, metal structures would begin to collapse.
3.
Widespread fires would occur across the globe. Remember how we told you to remember all of the oxygen levels rising due to the abundance of overgrown plants and nature in general? Well, with these high levels of oxygen being present, it wouldn't take long for a well-placed lightning strike to hit a forest or any other area that's oversaturated with plant life and cause widespread wildfires, with no humans around to control or extinguish them.
2,
Desert cities would revert back to being just deserts. Now, although plant life would eventually take over all of the concrete jungles around the globe, plants couldn't survive out in the hot plains of the desert, so desert cities would be excluded from nature's takeover. But that doesn't mean desert cities would be untouched. Well, technically they would be untouched, but you know what we mean. Cities like Las Vegas would be overrun by sand before very long. It would pretty much look like that scene from Resident Evil Extinction, where they're all in Vegas. Sorry, I feel embarrassed for even mentioning that trashy film.
1,
Stone buildings and structures would remain. After 10,000 years without the existence of the human race, the only thing that would be left in the world would be the concrete and stone structures. Hell, most concrete structures actually probably wouldn't survive that long now that we think about it, especially ones built out of metal infrastructures or wood foundations. The only thing that would be left to prove the existence of the human race would be the structures like the Great Pyramids of Egypt or the Great Wall of China, Machu Picchu, and Petra in Jordan. Aliens would probably be pretty confused about what our civilization consisted of. What other topics would you like us to talk about? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and tap that bell button for notifications about our latest videos. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.